Good evening. Today we are going to talk about reactive abuse. I think I'm gonna read I'm gonna read a couple articles about this because they're all a little bit different. So let's just give you the basic. Reactive abuse occurs when the victim reacts to the abuse they are experiencing. The victim may scream, toss out insults, or even lash out physically at the abuser. The abuser then retaliates by telling the victim that they are in fact the abuser. And they also go on to tell everyone else that. This is a form of triangulation when they add other people into it. And obviously a manipulation tactic in order to continue to abuse the victim. So this is what you have witnessed of me. I am still upright. A lot of you have called me abusive financially because I know that there's proof out there that I lied about putting him on child support, but it's because if I would have told him outright, he would have retaliated and done something unkind. So, I sprung it on him, and I had to lie. And that's just part of what you have to do when you're dealing with someone who's extremely manipulative. Another example is I broke his window by accident. I was so upset. I was knocking so hard, my hand went right through the window. But he, tells everyone that I broke his window just to be malicious when I was just trying to get a break after being with my daughter for 2 weeks straight after he canceled multiple visits. And then he had the police say, "You don't want to spend time with your daughter, ma'am," when he was the one that canceled his visit. So let's read the full article. One of the most common tactics abusers use to shift blame for the abuse onto the victim is reactive abuse. The abuser will claim the victim is the abuser because of the reaction the victim has. The abuser may even attempt to convince the victim that there is nothing worth reacting over and that the victim is overreacting to the abuse. What the victim is actually experiencing is called reactive abuse. And some of you readers that have been attacking me, and when I come back, that is what you are doing. You're actually performing reactive abuse on me. And you've been taught this by the person who has manipulated you into thinking that I am the abuser and that I deserve everything that's come to me. And because you've witnessed me in reactive abuse, you believe that everything that I'm experiencing right now is deserved. You have no understanding. Therefore, you have actually been putting out really bad energy. You have actually been abusing me as a result of witnessing and being manipulated by reactive abuse. Reactive abuse occurs when the victim reacts to the abuse they are experiencing. The victim may scream, toss out insults, or even lash out physically at the abuser. And the abuser then retaliates by telling the victim that they are in fact the abuser, as well as telling everyone. They may put this on video for everyone to see. They may save certain text messages. I made sure that they had every text message that they could get. Why? Because... Stop. It was an escalated thing. It started off with me, okay, that's cool, whatever, to just, shut the fuck up, I can't stand you, leave me the fuck alone, it took a very long time for me to get to that point, very long time. But he had to, in order for this to happen, he had to be messing with me every single day for years. Understand that it's not something that I just started doing right off the bat. He had to work on me every single day. Abusers rely on this reactive abuse because it is their proof that the victim is unstable and mentally ill. The abuser will hold these reactions against the victims indefinitely. It could be years later and the abuser will say, well, back in whatever year you had this reaction and acted all crazy, you're the crazy one and you need help. And that's what all you have been doing. For every little thing that I do, you call me crazy because you have all seen whatever proof these men have come up with, which is proof. Their proof. Their proof is nothing more than reactive abuse. It's more common for people who have emotional dysregulation to do this because their needs are already unmet. They are already at their heightened level of neglect and abuse. And so when they are being abused, especially sexually was mine, it causes a lot of reaction. So, sometimes abusers use this reaction as an excuse to go to police or even file for protective orders of their own or custody of their children, whatever it is that they think that they need to do to protect themselves from this abuser that never even abused them, that's only reacting to what's being done to them. And they will also take this reaction to complete strangers that have never met the victim to manipulate them into doing spell work against them, to manipulate them into not helping when that person is asking for help, for those people to laugh and think it's funny that a person is in terrible circumstances as a result of people tampering with them because they have believed the lies of the abuser, using the proof, the falsified proof of reactive abuse. So it's a method of manipulation. To manipulate is to unfairly influence a situation. When an abuser claims they are the ones being abused, they are manipulating us into believing that we are at fault for the abuse. And they're manipulating you as well, because you're all saying I should have put out better energy when I never put out any bad energy. I was only reacting. I was kind to all of my abusers, my parents, my family members. Can any of you tell me something that I've done to you that would make you think that you have a right to judge me? Can any of you tell me that? Can any of my family members actually tell you anything other than me cussing them out? I was always there when they needed me. Every time. The abusers are conditioning and manipulating us to accept the blame. The longer this blame shifting goes on, the longer we believe we are to blame for the reactive outburst and the abuse that the abuser dishes out to us. We will begin to believe that we are violent and unstable. This manipulation can even go as far as to cause us to feel shame. We then react, and it causes the abuser to claim we are the abusive ones. But these reactions also add a second element to the mix. They cause us to feel bad about ourselves to the point of guilt and shame, and we act against what we know to be true about ourselves, that we are good, kind, capable, loving people. But that goes out the window when we experience the guilt and shame more and more, and the guilt and shame that the abusers continue to condition us to feel. I'm past that point. You can't do anything to me. You cannot make me feel that. And I see all of you trying to induce that upon me. You can't. But the only reason you try to induce that upon me is because you have your own things that you feel guilt and shame for. And so you try to bestow that upon me. I'm not guilty. I am truly upright. I have truly done right. And you have all sat here and laughed and enjoyed watching my struggle, my pain, my children's struggle, and my children's pain. And you think you being some kind of vigilantes because you saw something. You have no connection to the Most High because the Most High would have told you that motherfucker was full of shit. So any of you that have participated in this gang stalking and this gaslighting, you are all about to go the fuck down. Still. Because you're still on the fucking internet. Many survivors often ask themselves if they are abusive too because of how they react, but the truth is that mutual abuse is very rare, and many experts don't even believe it exists because the power and control dynamics involved in domestic violence would make it nearly impossible for both partners to be abusive. One has to maintain the control. They're not about to allow themselves to be abused. They'll walk away. If they come across somebody who can equally abuse them, they aren't going to stay in that because they don't have that mindset to be abused. They're the abuser. That's why that doesn't work. What are you doing? The key word here is react. That's the difference between reactive abuse and mutual abuse. Victims and survivors react to the abuse doled out by the abuser. So, let's listen to what we can do instead. When you see yourself reacting in this manner, many times you begin to say to yourself, whoa, this isn't me. This isn't how I am normally. When you begin to ask yourself those questions, you know something is not right with the relationship. I know I thought those things before, that I knew how I was reacting wasn't me. It wasn't who I was. That's what the abuser wants, to make you question yourself, your character, and your integrity. But many times, by the time we get to the point of asking ourselves those questions, we are either too scared to leave the abuser or we just don't have the means to do so. So what can we do instead? The abusers bank on us reacting negatively to their tactics. When we begin to truly think about how we respond to them, we are taking back our power. We begin to respond and not react. To react is almost like an automatic thing. It's the flight or fight response. But responding involves a thought process that requires us to really consider our thoughts and actions. Within the realm of domestic violence, there is always one who initiates or instigates the problems in the relationship. It comes back to that one person needing power and control over their victim. That's what abuse is, the imbalance of power. The abuser, however, would like us to believe otherwise and say, well, we're abusive to each other, or it's mutual abuse. And in this case, no one takes any accountability for the abuse done to me. It's not a mutual abuse. Ashley is the abuser. No, I'm not. Okay, and you've all spent a better part of a whole fucking year trying to prove that I'm an abuser, putting the pressure on me to further prove that I am not the abuser. You guys have done a lot of damage, and you all think you're about to get away with this shit. You're not. Putting my child in danger because you think I was some kind of abusing mother. No, if anything, I am now because you have driven me fucking nuts. And I never did anything wrong to anyone. I will remain that. I take accountability when I'm wrong. I didn't do anything to anybody. These motherfuckers is crazy, and you have followed and ran down the rabbit hole with them because you want to be a vigilante, because you want to say that you're better than someone. You're about to learn. Half of y'all is going to end up in jail for at least 6 months. Think I'm playing. I already saw it. It's because the abusers will never accept responsibility for their action and then will instead shift blame of abuse onto us. If you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, there is help. You can visit Break the Silence website or chat with one of our helpline advocates at 855-287-1777. it's harder to get away from this stuff when you have children with people. And the reason that it got so bad for me is because I had multiple people doing this to me at one time. Everybody. My whole life. And then you add your little selves in here, complete fucking strangers. I don't know you from Jack. All my life. People making me the bad guy. I didn't do anything to anybody. They just want my money. They just want my body. That's it. My whole fucking life. Like 7 people. It was like getting kicked around like a fucking hacky sack. And you try your best to be good. Because I am good. And then you come in here and you try to tear me down. You don't know what I've been through. It's almost over though. Instances of verbal, emotional, or physical abuse are extremely stressful and traumatic for victims. During an act of abusive violence, it is common for an abused person to lash out toward their abuser. They may scream, cry, use insults, or even physically defend themselves against an attack. In turn, an assailant may retaliate against them by claiming that the victim is in fact the abuser. Please. He be doing like all this heavy breathing and shit. He be sounding crazy. This is called reactive abuse and formally referred to as gaslighting. Reactive abuse is extremely dangerous for a victim of sexual assault, as it allows abusers to hold something against them. However, reactive abuse can also occur in situations of verbal, psychological, or physical abuse. Please stop. Abusers rely on reactive abuse because it gives them proof that the victim is unstable, mentally ill, or delusional. Abusers may hold these reactions against an abused person indefinitely, possibly bringing up specific instances of self-defense years after this event occurred. A reaction to abuse might even be used by the assailant to go to the police and file their own protective orders. It is a method of manipulation that attempts to make an abused person feel responsible for the acts of violence. The longer this, and so again, this is almost identical to the last article, but I just need to make sure that I'm clear. Not only that, to let you hear yourself. Oh, she's trapped in her house. Oh, her car don't work. Oh, she has no money. This is all her fault because she put out bad energy. I did not. I was reacting to abuse. I didn't put out any bad energy. We just need to be clear. So you know that you're all abusers. So you know that I didn't do anything wrong. And some of you, you're still going to think that I did something wrong, and that's fine. I really don't care. I really don't care. But for those that really actually want to learn something, this is it. So, the longer this shifting of blame occurs, the longer a victim may experience feelings of shame, guilt, or blame for reactive outbursts to continued abuse. Also, this tactic forces a victim of violence to focus on their own response to the event rather than the event itself. Right? So that's an example of forcing someone to go into therapy because of the emotional dysregulation, because there's no such thing, instead of the fact that I was raped repeatedly for years. This can give an oppressor the ability to continue their abuse without repercussion. What causes an abused person to have reactive outbursts? Having a physical, verbal, or expressive outburst during an abusive event is nothing to be ashamed of. It is a natural defense mechanism that the body deploys against danger. When confronted with danger, the body innately releases a number of stress hormones to enhance its ability to react to the threatening situation. This is called the stress response, also known as the fight or flight response. In circumstances where safety is threatened, the body prepares itself to flee to a given situation or fight back against the stressor. This can result in screaming, punching, kicking an individual who's being abusive. These actions are often automatic, so it can be hard to gain control of responses to abusive situations. Regardless, abusers may utilize these unconscious behaviors to gain power over an abused person. And I know, I'm very aware, there's a video of me being violent multiple times with multiple people. Where's the police report regarding that? Do you know what happened to me after those videos? What causes an assailant to reactively abuse? Not everyone will experience a reactive outburst when confronted with abusive violence. Some individuals may experience shock, causing them to have seemingly no reaction. Others may become extremely upset. Abuse is abuse no matter what. In some circumstances, the tendency for the abuser to shift blame toward the victim might be a byproduct of mental disorder. And that would be narcissistic abuse. Is one of the many types of personality disorders that may affect an individual's outward portrayal of themselves. Narcissism is a mental condition that is signified by an inflated sense of self-importance, deep need for attention, and lack of empathy for those around them. Narcissists typically have difficulty engaging and maintaining healthy relationships, and they often refuse to take responsibility for their actions, attempting to put the blame on those around them. A person with narcissistic personality may have a higher predisposition for engaging in abusive behavior, and they may be more likely to try to act like they are not responsible for the abuse. When a victim reacts accordingly to a given situation, narcissists may try to manipulate the situation to work in their favor, so much so that they have an entire tarot community attacking, trying to steal, trying to keep an individual from living a quality life, and then saying that it is the victim's fault because the victim put out bad energy. You get what you put out. Let's see what y'all get for what you put out. Let's find out. The day is coming. Effects of reactive abuse. The psychological toll that reactive assault can have on a victim is immense, and it can cause many people to become stuck in a cyclical, unsafe relationship with abusive individuals. Those who may have had reactive outbursts in a dangerous relationship may be prone to trauma bonds. This occurs when an abused partner becomes emotionally attached to their abuser. These bonds may form after months or years of repeated assault, but they may also occur after just one instance. Patterns of abuse followed by periods of remorse can lead to a trauma bond because this remorse can give false hope that the abuser will change their ways. Not to mention, if an abused person is made to think that they're the actual abuser, they may feel a responsibility to remain in the relationship in order to correct their mistakes. Those who have experienced reactive abuse may also sustain large amounts of stress, anxiety, and depressive symptoms based on the severity and length of the assault. And this assault has gone on forever, and you have assisted in allowing these people to continue to assault me. If I experience any of these symptoms, it's a result of you trapping me in my house because I get the energy I put out, that I didn't ever put out, that I reacted to. Well, you should have responded. No, bitch. All you bitches are done. So, yeah. Good luck, bitches.